Hey, what's up, guys? This is Steel Rain coming back at you with another review, and this will be a battery shootout and review on my 80 amp continuous current Lipo discharge rig. And we'll go ahead and get started with the contenders here. We'll go ahead and shove these to the side at first. So the first battery you'll see is the Hyperion silicon graphene G7 high voltage Lipo. This is their relatively new line of batteries. This is a 75C. They also have a 95C. High voltage has never really been my big thing because usually, the batteries, they kind of crap out on you after, somewhere between 10 to 20 cycles. So we'll go ahead and see how this one holds up in the testing. Go over some of its features. This is the first battery that I saw that had this sort of, I guess it'd be like a blend of a silicon graphene. Before some of the other guys start coming out with them. So doesn't look like a bad battery. I haven't had a chance to test it yet. Wanted to test the 75C or I'm sorry, the 95C, but I got sent the 75C. So we'll go ahead and see how it does. There's a couple things I noticed right off the bat that I don't like about the battery. And if you're listening, Hyperion, these balance wires are that plastic coated. They're not silicone. I mean, you move these so many times, they're just going to crack and break over time. Not the best. So if you guys can, try to put some silicone wires there. That would be awesome. Also as well, most batteries nowadays come with 12 gauge wire to help with the flow of the amperage from the battery, and batteries that are requiring, a lot of amp draw, current draw are going to need it. Every other battery nowadays has 12 gauge wire on it, so if you're listening, that'd be a cool upgrade if you guys could do that as well. But we'll go ahead and see how it does in the testing anyhow. What's interesting about this battery is that it's 1800 milliamps when it's charged up to its full 4.35 volts per cell, the high voltage, and somewhere around 1500 milliamps when it's charged up to 4.2 volts per cell, normal 16.8 volts per pack. So we'll go ahead and see how this one weighs here on the scales. Go ahead and let it zero out here. And that one's weighing in at 178 grams. Hopefully you guys can see that on camera. Try to hit the light there for you. And that's actually pretty astounding considering it's a 1500 pack at normal voltage and an 1800 milliamp hour pack at high voltage. So, pretty impressive there. Go ahead and turn that off. And we're going to go ahead and test its internal resistance on the Wayne Giles ESR meter. So right now it's sitting at storage voltage, and it's also hovering around 72 degrees is how I always test my internal resistance on my packs. And it's sitting around 31.2 for the whole pack, including the connector. And we're going to go ahead and see what one cell reads out at. Connected it wrong there. And a single cell is reading out without the connector at 7.12, which isn't the best, but it's not the worst I've seen either. So go ahead and move that one to the side and move on to the next battery here. The next battery in the lineup is going to be the Indestructible Quads Black Label, the ADC 1500 milliamp, and this is the new Armored Edition, so it has a little bit thicker heat shrink on it than the original version that I tested. It also has plates in here to protect the cells on top and bottom. So, and supposedly it's supposed to be manufactured a little bit better, but we'll go ahead and see how it stacks up when I start doing the testing. So we'll go ahead and get a weight of it here. Turn that on, let it zero out. and it's coming in at 200 grams even. Hopefully that's showing up there. 200 grams even. So, you know, a little hefty, but for a quality pack, we'll see how it holds up in the testing, but for a quality pack, you know, that's about the going weight for them, especially for something with the plates in them and a little bit thicker heat shrink to protect the cells and battery overall. Turn that off and put it to the side. Go ahead and test its internal resistance as it sits. And the entire pack, including connector, is sitting at 25.8 milliohms, which is pretty good. Go ahead and test a single cell here. Single cell is sitting at around 5.4. Not too bad, not shabby. And usually those numbers tend to drop over 5 to 10 cycles by about 15-20%. So it might get down into the fours. Shove that battery off to the side. And the next one we have here is a prototype pre-production battery that Indestructible Quads sent me to test. It's the new gold label 1500 high voltage battery here. So according to Key at Indestructible Quads, it's got a new type of manufacturing process that's supposedly made the batteries a little bit better, a little bit more powerful, something with the slurry mixture of the electrolyte inside. So we'll have to see there. Thank you for sending that to me, Indestructible Quads and Key. I'll go ahead and get started with the testing here. So we'll go ahead and turn that back on. Let it zero out. Get a weight here. So it's sitting at 171 grams, which is pretty equivalent to the Hyperion battery. But as you can see, it's just got a really thin layer of shrink wrap on there. And as far as I could tell, there's no plates or anything on the sides. So go ahead and shove that off to the side, and we'll get an internal resistance number on the entire pack. Sitting at 29.7 milliohms, not bad. And we'll get the single cell internal resistance sitting at around 6.64. So not too bad. We'll go ahead and see how these things perform. And once again, I'd like to thank Hyperion for sending me in this battery for testing, and Key at Indestructible Quads for sending in both of these, both the production battery you could get on his website and the pre-production, which hopefully will do pretty well in the testing. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with the testing. Alright guys, to give you guys a little summary of how this testing is going to go, and if you're interested in more details, please look down in the description to this video for the full-on testing procedures and also the spreadsheets to the results on these batteries. This is the testing rig I use. It's there's 8 12-volt, 100-watt halogen light bulbs. Each bulb pulls roughly 10 amps of current, so 80 amps altogether. It's going to be monitored with an inline current monitor here that attaches to the battery over here. There's also going to be a clamp meter, which reads about 2 to 3 amps higher than this on average. And we're also going to be taking temperature readings as well. And basically what we'll do is we'll charge up the batteries to their full charged voltage and drop them down to 14. Once I turn on the current and the current starts flowing and it drops to 14 volts, that's when I'll end the testing, let the battery rebound until the battery comes back up to roughly about 14.8 volts per cell, after which point we'll call the test complete. So go ahead and take a look down in the description for full details, and we'll go ahead and get started with the first battery. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and get started with the first battery in the test. We'll go ahead and test the high voltage batteries first. The first battery up is going to be the Hyperion G7 high voltage silicon graphene 75C 1800 milliamp battery. It's been charged up to 4.35 volts per cell. And before we even start this, I'm going to go ahead and say that all these batteries are brand new. They've never been used. They were sent to me by the vendors, and this will be their first discharge. So they usually do pretty decent. They might improve over time, but I've also seen the opposite. So this is just always how I've done my battery testing. So we'll go ahead and get started here. And we'll go ahead and start the first burst. Already down to 14 volts per cell. Basically how this testing goes, guys, is that I charge it up to full voltage and hit it with the 80 amps current until it gets down to 14 volts. When that time happens, I go ahead and shut off the current, let it rebound until it stops, and then keep hitting it some more with the current until it finally gets down to 14.8 volts, in which the testing is complete. And in a test like this, the battery that has longer bursts and less burst is going to be the clear winner. Seems like that's it. It's done rebounding. Hit it again. Usually the second burst is better because the battery warms up even more, which this one seems to be doing here this time. Seeing up 14.02 volts. Finally dropped. That was a pretty decent second burst. Battery's slightly warm. See, I think it's done rebounding. We'll go ahead and hit it with the third burst here. $14. I don't know if you guys could tell, but the inline current meter is reading about 2 to 3 amps lower than the clamp meter. So I'm not sure which one is completely accurate, but they're close enough. All right, it's done rebounding. We'll get it with the fourth burst. Below 14. Still rebounding a bit. Keep in mind, guys, this is just going to be the testing video. I'm going to release a video shortly after this one with the results and summary. Until then, you guys could go ahead and check the spreadsheet in the video description and see how it stacks up against the rest of the batteries. It's done rebounding there. Hit it with another burst. Already below 14. Still rebounding a bit. Looks like it stopped. Go ahead and hit it again. Below 14. Sorry about the lighting, guys. The halogen bulbs kind of blind the inline meter out back. That's why I have a second meter on, also for redundancy. And looks like that one's done rebounding. I'll hit it again. That one didn't last at all that long. It might have maybe 1 or 2 small bursts left in it, maybe a couple seconds. All right, stop rebounding at 1505 volts. We'll hit it again. Yep, already below 14 as soon as I turn it on, pretty much. It might have one more left in it. And we'll go ahead and it's done rebounding. One last burst. Yeah, instantly below 14. So we'll go ahead and call this test on this one quits, guys. Go ahead and get a final temperature reading here. Get it from all over the battery. Feels pretty warm. And as you can see, the highest temperature was 151 degrees. So we'll go ahead and go on with the next. And next battery is going to be the prototype Indestructible Quads gold label high voltage. Okay guys, next battery on the chopping block is going to be the Indestructible Quads high voltage 1500 milliamp ADC prototype battery. So we'll go ahead and get started on this one. It was charged up to 4.35 volts per cell, and this will be the first burst. So here we go. This one's holding pretty good. I don't know if you guys could see that. Sitting at 4.3 volts per cell right now, or 14.3 volts per cell, or for an entire pack. This one's holding out pretty good, having a pretty long first burst. Just like the original gold label that Indestructible Quad sent to me, it's doing pretty well. 14.02 volts. Holding steady. There it goes. Pretty long first burst out of that one, guys. That's what you want to see. Battery's really resistant to voltage sag, which means it's going to give you more power for longer in your punch outs and overall. Still rebounding a little bit here. Doesn't look like it's going to rebound much more than that. Hit it again. There it goes. I'm guessing this battery is going to have very few bursts is what you want to see, and for longer times during the bursts, which is definitely a good sign of a well-made battery. Might have maybe 2 to 3 bursts at the most left in it. It's pretty much done rebounding. We'll hit it with the third burst. There it goes. Still rebounding a bit. Battery's a little warm. I think it's got one burst left in it, guys. That's about all it's going to rebound there. Go ahead and hit it again. There it goes. And it still might have one more left in it. That one went for about 2 to 3 seconds. Usually somewhere between 14.8 volts and 14.9 is where I stop the test, depending on whether or not, as soon as I turn it on, if it dips down below 14 volts. We'll go ahead and hit it again. That was about a second or two. Still rebounding a bit. Sitting at about 14.85 volts. And I think this is going to be the last one. Let's go ahead and try one more. Yeah, instantly below 14. So we're going to call that one quits, guys. That was maybe a second or less. So we'll go ahead and get the final temperature reading on the battery here. Get it from all sides. And as you can see there, 147 was the max temperature out of the battery. So next battery is going to be a non-high voltage, just regular voltage, the new Indestructible Quads Armored Edition 1500 ADC. So we'll go ahead and get on with that one. Okay guys, this is going to be the last battery out of the test. The Indestructible Quads Black Label new Armored Edition 1500 milliamp 4S ADC battery. So we'll go ahead and get started with this test. Here goes the first burst. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's hovering around 14.03 volts. Pretty good first burst so far. There it goes, hit 14. We'll let it rebound here. Seems like it's done rebounding. We'll hit it with the second burst. It's kind of like its high voltage brother. It's doing pretty good the first couple bursts, which is what you want to see overall. Like it's done rebounding, sitting at 15.3 volts. Go ahead and hit it with the third burst. Down to 14. Still rebounding a bit. Looks like it's pretty much done rebounding. Still going a little bit. Covering a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the, I believe it's the fourth burst. Down to 14. This one's not doing too bad. It's kind of reminiscent of its the first generation. Make sure you guys watch the second video where I'll discuss pricing and where to buy these batteries and how they stacked up against everything else, including the spreadsheet. No more rebound there. I'll hit it again. Down to 14. Seems like it might have maybe 2 to 4 more bursts in it at most. Seems like it's done rebounding. Hit it again. If I had to make a guess, I'd say it's got about 2 bursts left in it. And it's not rebounding any more than that. I'll hit it again. Pretty quick, a couple seconds there. Maybe 3 at the most. It's got 1 more left in it. And it's done rebounding. Hit it again. It might have one more left in it. That one went for about almost 2 seconds there, so let's see what it rebounds to. Alright, that'll be about it. Do one more. Yeah, instantly below. So we're going to go ahead and call this testing on the black label quits here. Get a final temperature reading from all 4 sides. And pretty impressive. It's I'm sitting at 127 degrees max at all 4 sides. Not bad considering. So it kept its temperature down while still delivering, which is pretty decent. So that's pretty much going to be the end of the testing video, guys. Going to go ahead and cut this one short. I was going to do a summary at the end, but this video is just going to go on way too long to hold your attention and mine as well. So I'll go ahead and end it here and make a second video within the next day or two discussing the results, pricing, and where you guys could get these and what the results came out to be. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please go ahead and subscribe, like, and share. And leave all your comments, questions, and suggestions down in the normal place below. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you.